opens up his window and says 3:15 in the morning and you're blowing your shofar. Every person, says the Rambam, has zchuyos and avonos. He has positive things, virtues, merits, and averos, sins, things that he's done wrong. A person that has more zchusim than averos, a person that has more virtues than negatives, is called a tzaddik. And a person that has more averos, more sins than mitzvahs, he's called a rasha, a wicked person. Now what's interesting is you see, the Rambam says that every person has zchuyos and avonos. Every person has good things. Even if he's a rasha, even if he's a wicked person, he still has good deeds that he's done. As the Gemara tells us, even rashayim, even wicked people, they're filled with mitzvahs kirimain like a pomegranate is full of seeds. So even if you see someone and you may think that they're bad, remember that there's many good things that they do as well. Every person does some good things. But a person that's majority good is called a tzaddik. A person that's majority bad is called a rasha. Now, as the Rambam, as the Tanya tells us, that this is a borrowed term. It's a term that's used when you want to decide, or you want to judge what the person is at the end of his life. Hashem is judging him. Is he worthy of reward or punishment? Is he getting a chance? Then they measure how much he's done. But the true definition of what's good and bad is obviously much deeper than that. So the Rambam continues, and a person who is a beinoni, a person who is an in-betweener, he's halfway good and halfway bad, he's considered to be a beinoni. He's called an in-betweener, the in-middle person. Not only do people work that way, but even the Medina, a country, a land that has most of the people and most of the deeds of the people that live there are good, and they're considered to be a tzadekes, it's a righteous place. But if most of the deeds of that land is negative, it's sins, it's averes, then that whole land is called risha'a, it's a wicked place. And similarly is the whole world. You look at the world, and if majority of the world is virtuous, majority of the things going on in the world are positive, then it's good. And if majority of the world is doing bad, says the Rambam, then it's negative, it's bad. What happens? So the Rambam continues and he says, Adam, a person whose sins are more than his schusim, he will immediately die as a result of his evil doings. Once he goes over 50% of his actions of bad versus good, then he dies. Now, there's three opinions here, more than three, but I want to bring three opinions. The Kesef Mishnah, which is a commentary on the Rambam, the Lechem Mishnah, and the Ramban. And they explain that when the Rambam says he'll die right away, it doesn't mean he'll die right away. It means that if he's being judged, then his judgment is given, it's set, once he goes over the majority. And we're saying that he has to get punished or something has to happen to him. But it's not necessarily that a person will die right away. Other commentaries say, specifically the Ramban, if you look around and you say, maybe I know a person, I know majority of their deeds are bad. So he says, let's look what the Rambam says further, and we'll understand how it's possible to have a bad person who majority of what they're doing is negative. However, they're alive and well, and they don't see that they die right away like the Rambam says. Before we explain that, he says it's not only individuals, but also countries, lands. For example, it says about Sodom and Amorah, right? That Sodom and Amorah, they were a wicked place, and the whole city got destroyed because majority of the deeds that went on over there, a high majority, were bad. And similarly is the whole world. We find, before the flood, the whole world was in a terrible state. There was more sins, more averes, than mitzvahs. Now, how do you measure? Is it one mitzvah per one avera? Is it one per one? Are they really equal? So the Rambam says this does not go on the number of mitzvahs or the number of averas a person did. Rather, it goes based on the quality of the mitzvah, the quality of the avera. How severe is this sin? How worthy, how great is this mitzvah? So you have a person who maybe he does many averes, but certain mitzvahs that he's done are so difficult for him to do, or it's so against his nature, or it really, really took a lot of effort for him, that could be worth many averes for someone else, or even within himself. Okay, sometimes a person who does something wrong, but it's not considered to be as severe because of their situation, because of that particular scenario that they're in. So you don't measure. We talk about if you have majority mitzvahs, you're called a tzaddik. Majority averes are called a rasha. It doesn't go based on the number of mitzvahs. It goes on the quality. Certain mitzvahs are worth more. Certain people, particular mitzvahs, are worth more. There's a pasuk which says, "Ya nimtza by davar tov," and sometimes you have a person who did a lot of things negative, but they found one mitzvah which carried so much value that it did it for them. And the same thing is vice versa. A person can have a lot of mitzvahs, but there's something that they did wrong, and it was a very, very big deal. It was very harsh. So then it sways it into the other way. So judgment from Hashem, to use the term of the Rambam, it's judged based on Hashem, who knows the deis. He knows the opinions. Hashem knows really how to measure. Now, what happens if a person did mitzvahs for a long time? Can you ever lose the value of those mitzvahs that you accomplish? In other words, could a person become bad and lose the mitzvahs that he did? So normally we say it's not possible. But the exception is if a person really regrets his behavior. You went out and you helped somebody. You did good for someone. And later you said, I really regret that I helped them. I wish I would have never done it. When you do that, you retroactively take away the benefit and the impact and the value of that mitzvah. So although normally we say that a good deed has impact, it never goes away, if you regret what you did and you say, I shouldn't have done this, I wish I wouldn't have done this, then just like by a bad thing, you could make up for what you missed. If someone regrets for the good that they've done, it doesn't get counted towards their judgment. As it says, tzidkas hatzadik, the righteousness of the tzaddik, won't save him in the day that he does an avera. If you regret what you did and you really, if it was up to you, you would take it back. Hashem says, okay, we're not going to count it. Just like a person gets measured, judged when they pass away, to 120 years, similarly, every single year on Rosh Hashanah, Hashem judges all of the deeds of all people. It's not just a day of judgment for Yidden, but all human beings get judged on Rosh Hashanah. And this judgment happens. Anyone that comes out in this judgment, that majority of what they did is positive, is a tzaddik, then right away they get sealed for life, a good life for the coming year. A person who on Rosh Hashanah Hashem judges them, and we find that they have more negatives than positives, then they get sealed right away for the opposite of life. But if someone is judged on Rosh Hashanah and Hashem finds that it is in between tzaddik and rasha, which again does not mean the amount of mitzvahs that a person did, but it means the value of each mitzvah, that's how it's judged. Then Hashem says, I'm not sealing this person's judgment. We're going to wait till Yom Kippur, in 10 days from now. And if a person did Tshuvah, even though majority of his actions were bad during the prior year, if he did Tshuvah, then it gets transformed and he gets sealed for a good year. Before we get on to halacha Dalet, to the fourth halacha, I want to just stop for a moment and take any questions. Okay, very good. The answer is yes. Rambam continues, even though that Tkiyas Shofar is a Gzeras HaKosov, the mitzvah of blowing Shofar on Rosh Hashanah is a heavenly decree, nonetheless, Remez Yesh Bo. Let's stand up for the Torah 1 second. Even though when the mitzvah of blowing shofar on Rosh Hashanah is a heavenly decree, there's still remez in the Torah. Now I want to share something that the Rebbe said about this term, where the Rambam says that even though it's Xeris HaKasav, there's a remez. Certain mitzvahs, we don't know the reasons for them. Okay? But they have reasons. We just don't know what they are. For example, Shlomo HaMelech said, regarding Para Aduma, we have a very interesting law, that if someone became ritually impure, which the whole concept of ritually impure, Tumah and Tara, is a very hard thing to understand logically. Because in the physical sense, what do you mean this is impure? It's not unclean. And a person went into a mikvah, now they're pure. How does this whole thing really work? So, regarding Para Aduma, which is even more difficult to understand within the laws of ritually pure and impure of Tumah and Tara, we have that Shlomo HaMelech says, I don't know the answer to this question. I don't know the explanation behind what this is all about, why we have these mitzvahs of Tumah and Tara, of Para Aduma. However, Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm going to tell you what the reason for Para Aduma is. So you see that Para Aduma is such a difficult thing to understand, but there is a reason for it. When the Rambam says that blowing shofar on Rosh Hashanah is a Gzeras HaKasav, what he means is there is no logical explanation why we need to do it. Not that we don't know the reason because it's so complicated. There is no reason. It's not a mitzvah that has a reason that some people know, just most people don't. Which tells us that the source and the concept of blowing shofar on Rosh Hashanah is so special, and it's such a holy thing, that it's beyond reason. Reason means that the human being can understand it, or some human beings can understand it, or there's an explanation for it. But once you say that this is a mitzvah that has no reason, we don't understand it at all, it means that it's such a deep thing, it's in Hashem's world, there's no logic to it. It's similar to the idea that why did Hashem create a world? You ever wonder why Hashem created us? Why did Hashem create a world? So it says that this Ava Kadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem had this desire, this urge to create a world. Why he did it, we don't understand. What did he want? He wanted that human beings should make a dwelling place for Hashem in this world. So we should live in a world and make it holy. That's what Hashem wanted. Why he wanted it, we don't know. He just wanted. Sometimes you want something and you can't explain why you want it. True desire is not explainable. Okay? It's something which I want. It goes very, very deep. You could give reasons of why you officially want it. But if you take away those reasons, sometimes there's a situation where you want it so badly, and even if someone's going to disprove all the reasons you gave, you're still going to want it. Because the source of wanting, the source of ratzin, of desire, is so deep within the neshama, within the person's psyche, within his being, that it's even greater than intellect. When we say that Hashem wanted to create a situation, a world, where we're going to make it a holier place for Hashem, it's without an explanation. Hashem wanted it. So the Rebbe says the idea of shofar is a similar level, where it goes all the way up into Hashem's desire. He wanted a shofar to be blown. There's no reason for it. Now I say there's no reason for it, however the Rambam says, remez yesh b'davar. There is a remez, there's a hint, there's an allusion to what this idea of shofar really is about. So, and the truth is that it's brought in Svarim 10 reasons why we blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah. But that's not the ultimate reason why Hashem said to do it. The ultimate reason is because it's a Gzeras HaKasav. It's a decree. Hashem said, I want shofar to be blown. What's the remez? What's the hint that why we blow shofar? So the Rambam tells us, it says, Uru yeshene mishinaschem. Awaken sleepers from your sleep. Hakitsu mitardimaschem, wake up from your slumber. Get up from your slumber. So the idea of blowing shofar is to wake us up. Search out your actions. The chizru b'tshuvah, return to Tshuvah, do repent, and remember your Creator. So yes, shofar is a very, very deep concept. It's something with which the logic of the human mind does not understand. However, there's a remez that this wakes us up to do Tshuvah. Because on Rosh Hashanah, as the Rambam just concluded, Hashem is judging each person, and if majority of a person's deeds, qualitatively speaking, are negative, then Hashem is going to seal his fate for the opposite of life. So do tshuvah because you could change it. And that's what the Rambam is stressing here. That shofar, the mitzvah, the main mitzvah on Rosh Hashanah, blowing shofar, has the component to it that it wakes us up to do tshuvah. And when we do tshuvah, we transform and we change even if majority of our prior year was negative. What does it mean, remember your Creator? This refers to the people who forget the truth. They forget the truth and they spend time just in waste and vanity, things that are not going to help them, it's not going to save them, and they just waste their days and months and years away. So he says, look into your souls, improve your ways, and leave all of the negative behaviors that a person is doing. Therefore, the Rambam says, and this is a very fundamental concept which the Rebbe has brought many times, it comes from this parak in Hilchos Tshuvah. The Rambam says like this: therefore, a person has to always see himself a whole year as equally balanced. Our attitude to ourselves is, I probably have half good and half bad. And the following decision that I'm about to make is going to change my status from tzaddik to rasha. Because you don't know where you're at. It doesn't go, you can keep track of every mitzvah that you did, you don't know the value of each mitzvah. You can keep track of every mistake you made, but you don't know the repercussion and how much it's worth in Hashem's judgment. As he said, only Hashem knows. So therefore, how do I know where I'm at? Am I a tzaddik or a rasha? Anyone that's trying to accomplish something or achieve something wants to know, how far along am I? What do I have to improve? Which part has to get better? Or am I okay? So the Rambam says, and this is extremely fundamental, you should always view yourself as equal. You're right away in the middle. And the deed you're about to do is going to sway and change your entire status from tzaddik to rasha. Not only that, but we should view that our decision now, the deed we're about to make, is going to impact the whole world's status. We should look at the entire universe as equal, because as we said, it's not just about the person. It's also about a land, about a city, about a country. It gets measured based on the majority of the merits versus the majority of the sins. And the same thing is regarding the whole world. So therefore, before we're about to make a decision if I should do something or not do it, we are told to think, and Rambam reminds us, assume that your action is going to sway the scale in each direction. Do the right thing, it's going the right place. Do the wrong thing, it's going into the negative, it becomes evil. Now back to the idea of Tshuvah, because Rosh Hashanah is the day of judgment, and Hashem is measuring, qualitatively speaking, where we're at. The Rambam says, therefore, it's a custom among Jewish people to increase in charity, to increase in tzedakah, u'maisim tevim, and in good deeds, and to be involved in mitzvahs from Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur. Because we have the ability to change and to sway the majority. So if a person did something wrong, but now, in Asaris made Tshuvah, he's doing a lot more mitzvahs, and he's giving a lot more tzedakah, and he's improving his ways, he's doing Tshuvah, that changes his judgment, even based on things that he's done the prior year, even if it's majority negative. And therefore, there's a minhag, people get up at night, very, very early in the morning, in these 10 days, and from Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur, you daven in shul, you say a lot of tefillah, praying and asking Hashem, until it gets late outside, meaning we spend the time davening and learning, asking Hashem, we want to do Tshuvah, want to come closer because the judgment is there. Here's a very interesting thing. Is there a concept in Torah where the first sin we say, you know what, we'll let this one go? One's a warning, right? If you get pulled over and you have a very good driving record, and the police tells you, this is a warning. Is there an idea in Torah where a person does something wrong, and we say, we'll let this one go? Maybe the second time we'll let it go. I want to clarify, we keep on talking about tzaddik versus rasha, and doing the right thing versus the wrong thing, and we're on a scale, and we're being measured. There is an idea where the Gemara tells us that if, God forbid, a child was kidnapped at a very young age and raised by the enemy, raised by someone, in this case, the Gemara's case, it was non-Jews who captured a child and raised him like a non-Jew, an idol worshiper. And then somehow, miraculously, he comes back. We get him back, he comes back to his family. let's say he's 13, 14, and he has no idea how to live like a Jew. And he walks in and they tell him, hey, that's milk, don't mix it with meat. Don't use that bowl, that belongs to the meat side. And it's like, whoa, what's going on? And then Shabbos, they tell him, don't turn on the fire, it's Shabbos. Like, 1 second. They sit down and they tell him everything how it works. This is kashrus, this is Shabbos, this is what you daven, this is what you do, this is what you don't do. He doesn't do it. Does he get punished or not? He knows about it. They just told him. But we say he's a tinek shenishba, a child that was captured in captivity. He does not get punished for those actions, even though he knows about them, but because he grew up in a very different environment. And you can't hold him accountable today for things that he didn't grow up with and he's not accustomed to and he doesn't appreciate the value of it. Similarly, someone that grows up in an environment which is not Torah mitzvahs, let's say they grew up in communist Russia, they didn't have the opportunity for a Jewish education, they didn't have an opportunity to learn what it means mitzvahs and so on. And again, it's not just the knowledge, so today you told it to him or to her, and now they have to do it. But once a person starts doing mitzvahs and learning Torah and does it, and then he knows better, so to speak, he values it, he understands what it's about, and he doesn't do it, that's when this whole punishment situation starts. But up until that point, there's certain mitzvahs that a person is just, he didn't grow up with it, it's foreign to him. He doesn't get punished in that way. It's a very important concept to keep in mind. Because Hashem, like we said, looks at the value of each mitzvah and the value of each sin. And sometimes a person didn't know better, or he never ever kept Shabbos. Walk in and say, hey, you didn't do Shabbos? It depends what was going on here. What do they know about Shabbos? What's the environment that they grew up in? What's expected of them, and so on and so forth. When Hashem weighs a person's averos, so Rambam says like this: the first time a person did a sin, first time and second time, it doesn't get counted in the judgment. Okay, so let's assume there's a scale here, and a lot of mitzvahs going on one side of the scale, and a lot of sins going on the other side of the scale. Which averos, which sins qualify to go on the scale? So the Rambam says the first time a person did something wrong, it doesn't go. It's the first time, it doesn't go. Second time, it doesn't go on. From the third time and on, that's when it gets added to the scale. Now they're weighing it. They're not weighing first time averos or second time averos, only third time. And now they see that it is more averos than mitzvahs. So then Hashem adds everything to it. Even the first time and the second time. If it's being swayed to the averos side is stronger, then Hashem puts the averos on it. But if the mitzvahs are weighing more, what does he do with the averos? He takes off number 3. He says, this is number 1 now, because I threw out number 1 and 2. So the third time he did an avera, that's the first time. In this judgment, he takes it off. And then you have the fourth one. And now the fourth one is the first, takes off the fourth. And this way, one by one, as long as a person's majority, qualitatively speaking, of his actions are positive, Hashem takes off one by one by one, and he ends up with only mitzvahs. Rambam. And he brings it from a pasuk that we see that Hashem takes off one by one of the averos. This all applies to an individual. That by an individual, Hashem says, the first time he did a sin, I'm not going to count this in judgment. The second time, I'm not going to count it. I'm starting from the third time. But a community that does something wrong, Hashem counts it from the first. I'm sorry, Hashem doesn't count the first, second, or third. He starts from the fourth. An intermediate person, in-betweener, he goes based on his actual counting. Okay, again, if a person is majority good and less than minority bad, so we take off the first 2 times. We only count from the third. If he is majority bad, then everything goes on. What if he's in between? Then we get counted for each individual deed, whether it's the first time he did it or the second time he did it. Who gets counted? Is it only Yidden that get good judgment? Is there only Yidden that have a portion in the world to come? He says no. He says every single human being. if they're good, they could enter into Olam Haba, whether they're Jewish or not Jewish. However, here is a list of 24 people or types of people which do not have a portion in the world to come. Okay? So up until this point, we're saying how is judgment done, and if a person comes out to be bad, then he goes into a certain process of cleansing, purgatory, or whatever else, and then they could go into Olam Haba. Are there people that lose their portion in Olam Haba? Okay? So here we go. These are the ones that do not have a portion in Olam Haba, says the Rambam. Rather, they get cut off and lost, and they get judged on the greatness of what they've done wrong forever. Now, there's explanations that tell us that forever is not really forever, it's just a much longer process. But in the simple meaning of the Rambam, what he says here is, these are the ones that don't have a portion in Olam Haba. Number one is haminim. We're going to explain shortly what minim means. Number two is apikursim. We're going to explain what apikursim means, which requires a whole halacha in the Rambam. The third is those that are kafir. They deny the Torah. They say the Torah never existed. It's man-made. A person that denies Torah, and again, not someone who doesn't know better, and someone that grew up in a foreign way and he was indoctrinated from a very young age that Torah is man-made, but someone that actually had the opportunity to understand and the proper values and decides Torah, I'm denying this existence, he doesn't get a portion in Olam Haba. Similarly, those that deny Tchias HaMesim, they say resurrection of the dead will never happen. I don't believe in it. This whole idea that the dead will come back, they don't have a portion in the world to come. Ubebias HaGoyel, those that say that Mashiach is never coming. This whole idea that Mashiach is going to come, a human being, from the tribe of Yehuda, from the descendant of King David, he's going to bring the Yidden to Eretz Yisrael and build the Beis HaMikdash, and all that. Someone that denies it has no portion in the world to come. Hamumarim u'machtiei harabim. Those that rebel, which we'll soon see what that means, and those that get others to sin. It's one thing when a person sins on his own, but if he encourages and influences many people to do the wrong thing, he goes into a certain category. It's one thing a person did a mistake or did something wrong on their own. But when you go and you're machtiei harabim, you get the community to do something wrong, not knowingly, that the person has no portion of the world to come. In addition, someone that separates himself from the ways of the community. Everyone's involved in something. There's a certain issue. There's a problem, and everyone's fasting, or they're praying, or they got together to change something, to help something. And you say, I don't care about this whole Jewish community thing. I'm going to live a life like anyone else. Someone that separates himself from the rest also has no chelik in Olam Haba. Next, one that does averes biyad rama, b'farhesia, a person that does sins with an open arm, meaning strong, and publicly. He comes and he says, I don't care about this sin, I'm going to do it, and I'm proud that I'm transgressing it, I'm proud that I'm violating it. Again, someone that grew up this way, that knows better, that's been involved in this, that gets it. He has no portion of the world to come, like Yehoyakim. And like Yehoyakim was a person who told the Yidden, the kings before me, they had no idea how to anger God. Let me show you how to get him angry. Okay, we're talking about a level where you're publicly going and saying, we're going to anger Hashem, we're going to do the wrong thing, let's break a rule, but like with the whole fanfare. Next is Hamaisrim, those that inform on other people. Talking about a time when you have idol worshippers who are looking for opportunity to arrest Jews, they're looking for opportunity to capture them and kill them, hurt them. And here you have a Jew who informs and says, here, take this person, here he is, he's hiding here, or go get him here. Someone that does that, informs on another Yid, has no portion of the world to come. Someone who scares the community. There's ways to threaten, to create certain fear within a community. Now it's done by certain leaders, sometimes for the right reasons. They want to keep them in line, they want to get them to behave a certain way. But if it's not for the sake of heaven, it's just for selfish reasons, like some kings have done, some dictators have done. They create a certain fear within the citizens. They make things very, very scary. They get people to behave and react out of fear. Such a person has no portion in the world to come. Murderers and Bali Lashon Hara, those that speak a lot of Lashon Hara, bad things about people. And a person is called Hameshich or Lasai. He tries to do something physical to his body to take away any impact from the bris that he received. Okay. Now, we said minim and apikorsim. What's a min? What's apikoros? So there are 5 people that are called minim. Number 1, a person that says there's no God. Okay? There's no leader. There's no director to this world. Or someone that says there is someone in charge of this world, but there's more than one. So I believe there's someone in charge, but there's 2 people. Or more than 2. Or someone says that there is only one creator, but he's physical, he's a body. He has a form, he's a human being. Or someone that says he's not the only one, meaning he's not the first, something else came before him. He may be the only one today, but there was someone before him. Or someone that worships a certain star, or a certain constellation, and he wants him to be in between him and Hashem, such a person also has no portion in the world to come. Any one of these 5 is called a min. Okay, so he denies God's existence. He denies the fact that Hashem is the only one. He denies the fact that he doesn't have a body. What's apikoros? There are 3 people that are called apikorsim. Number 1, a person that says that there is no nevuah. No such thing as prophecy. Prophecy never existed. Hashem doesn't give information, mada, knowledge, to humans. Someone that denies the nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu, he says Torah it's not real. Moshe wasn't a prophet; he made it up on his own. It's so fundamental that if you deny that, you're considered to be a min. Someone that says Hashem does not know what's going on with people. Hashem created the world, and then he went on about his ways. He doesn't know what happened. Doesn't know what you're doing. All these 3 are considered to be apikursim. What's someone who denies Torah? There's 3 scenarios of denying Torah. One person says Torah is not from Hashem. Even if you say that one pasuk, person opens the Chumash and he says, I think that word, he says even one letter, it's one word, you say, yeah, that's man-made. Even someone that says about one word that it's not from Hashem, that's considered to be a kafir. If you say Moshe Rabbeinu made it up on his own. Also, someone that denies Torah Shabbat Peh, a person that says oral Torah, I don't believe in this whole thing. It's made up. It's man-made. I don't believe Hashem gave it to Moshe Rabbeinu. That's a min. For example, tzaddik and baitis, and someone that says that the Eibishter changed the mitzvah. A guy wakes up one morning, he comes along and he says, the tefillin thing, Hashem told me that, or Hashem said it's not for today anymore. If you change a mitzvah, or you say that a mitzvah doesn't apply today, meaning not because we have no Beis Hamikdash, or we don't have the opportunity to do it, but you say Hashem said not to do it anymore, that's apikoros. That's one of the ways you know if a navi, a prophet comes along and he says, I have a message from God that kosher doesn't apply anymore. He's false. Unless it was a temporary thing. He said temporarily, for today, for now, it doesn't apply. Question?
You already answered. I think temporarily.
Yes. For example, and I know we're being recorded in the multiple recordings here, but I'll say something which the censor of the Rambam took this out. It was censored by certain people at the time, and it's been put back in. But the Rambam says, for example, he says Christians and Arabs, what he said, who denied that certain things came from Hashem, or they said that Hashem changed what they tried to call the old thing. Now it's new. A Jew that believes in that doesn't have a portion in the world to come, because you're denying the eternality of Torah. Anything of these 3 are considered a kafir b'Torah. What's a mumar? Someone who is rebellious. Rebellious there's 2 ways to be rebellious. One, you could be rebellious about one avera and say, I don't care about this thing. Let's take Shabbos. I don't care about Shabbos. I'm going to break Shabbos. I do everything else. But there's one mitzvah that I'm a mumar for. Or I'm a mumar for the whole Torah. and I'm denying, I'm going against what Hashem said. And what's he doing? He's going and doing it publicly and constantly breaking the law. See, what happens is sometimes a person does something by mistake. I'm sorry, in a quiet way. He's embarrassed of it. He's not proud that he's doing it. He can't hold himself in. He's doing something wrong. But he's not coming to everyone and saying, I do this all the time, and I'm proud of it. It's not a mummer. It's wrong, but it's not the same category as someone who says, I'm rebelling against Hashem. Even if it's a small mitzvah, relatively speaking, it's shatnez. Not that it's small, but the Rambam calls it kalis. It's one of the more things that it's not perhaps such a strong thing, like you don't get an isser kares, or it doesn't get the death penalty, misas bezdin, if a person does it. It's a lav, he would get malchus. It's wrong, it's a biblical prohibition. But if he does this all the time, he says, I don't hold by this whole shatnez thing. Or he doesn't have payas. He says, I don't care about payas. But in a way that's rebellious. I specifically am not going to have payas. And I never do it. And I tell everyone about it. Something like that is considered to be a mumar. A mumar for that thing. Now, the Rambam qualifies this, and he says, it's only if you do it lahachis. I am upset at God. I want to do this thing wrong. And that's why no payas for me. If you do that, and you do it consistently, all the time, publicly, that's considered to be a mumar, and such a person doesn't have a portion in the world to come. But someone that doesn't do a mitzvah doesn't automatically go into that category. Someone that does an avera doesn't go into that category. What's the definition of someone that gets other people to do averas? Someone that gets other people to do sins. Either it's a very big thing like Yeravam. Yeravam ben Nevat was a person, he put up blockades for about half of the Jewish people couldn't make it to Yerushalayim for about 200 years. They couldn't go to the Beis HaMikdash. He was the king of the other, it was a split, and he was the king of the other part, and he put up literally blockades. They couldn't get to the Beis HaMikdash. So not just do you not want to go serve in the Beis HaMikdash, but you're causing other people not to be able to. That's an extreme level of someone who gets others to do an Avera. And someone that does something for lenient things, something small. Right? Get them not to do a mitzvah. Or someone who forces other people to do a sin. There was a king, a terrible king, Menashe, who would kill Yidden if they don't serve idols. So it's not just that he's getting them to do an Avera, but he's forcing them. Such a person does not have a portion in the world to come. We're almost done the 24. Any questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Is there any mitzvah for which we do know the ultimate reason?
Yes. Well, I don't know the reason, but it's known.
No.
knows.
You were talking before considerable length. We have 10 reasons for shofar, but we don't know the ultimate reason. Okay, so is there any mitzvah for which we do know the ultimate reason?
We don't know the ultimate reason. However,
For anything.
it doesn't go into the category like shofar. Shofar is a mitzvah that nobody knows the reason, and regular mitzvahs people know the reason. Shlomo Melech knows, Moshe Rabbeinu knows. It's not a simple reason, but yes, there are knowable reasons for mitzvahs.
What about if the person wants to make an affair? He don't want to do it by himself, so he call his friends to make to feel comfortable with that, and they go on and do an affair.
It's a problem. I don't know if it's called a
It doesn't
rabbin.
mean it, It doesn't. It's not like Yerobah ben Nevat, that he's doing it, with power, with force.
Right. So there's levels. There's doing it with force. There's doing it out of anger. There's doing it in a mass way. And there's doing it, not publicly. You got a friend together. It's a question of what's considered to be a rabbin. What is a community? You got a lot of people. Is it one person? Is it a minyan? Is it a community? If it's still quiet, doesn't matter. But getting someone else to do an avera is it's worse than just doing it yourself, because you're getting someone else to do something wrong. So yeah. Yes.
What about the people who just don't wear payas because
They don't know better.
no, they believe that
someone that doesn't know why it's important to do payas, or they never learned about payas, and you just told them this morning, that doesn't go into this category.
I mean, there are some people who are like, think that payas is like not needed. Like,
Okay, so they don't know about it. I think it's unimportant. So they don't go into this category. Someone that separates from the community. As I mentioned, someone that's not involved, the community has a problem, and everyone's fasting, they're davening, they're trying to do something to change it. He says, I don't care, I'm going to behave like the Goy. Or someone that says, all Jews are being persecuted now. Let me just say I'm not Jewish and run away. I don't want to be involved in Jewish life. Because running away is not the problem. But saying that I don't want to behave like a Jew anymore, it's not worth to be Jewish. Look how much persecution there is. Look how much suffering there is. It's hard to get a job, it's hard to get an education, it's hard to, all these things throughout history. Let me just not be Jewish. That's someone that's separating from the Jewish community. Not escaping, that's not the issue. But saying, I'm not going to be Jewish anymore, that's what it is. There's two types of informers. A person that gives his friend to a idol worshiper to kill him. Giving means he tells him where his friend is. Or he puts him into somebody, gives him over to somebody for money. Says, oh, I know you want to find a person to get money out of him. Here he is. Okay, all of these 24 things that we said, even though they're Jewish, these people that committed these sins, they don't have a portion in the world to come. And
Does the risk come?
What about Adam?
no way to get around taxes.
Adam Gordon was a philosopher. He says, "K'yeh Yehudi bevetcha v'adam b'tzetecha."
It's very wrong.
That's what he says.
Look where it ended up.
And a lot of people followed it.
And you see that the Rebbe speaks about it, and it ended up in no good. It didn't work. To say be a Jew at home and be just a regular citizen in the street, hide your Jewishness outside. It didn't work for them or for their children. Okay, so these are very extreme cases where a person has no portion in the world to come. But there are other things that our sages tell us, people that do this don't have a portion in the world to come either. Again, there are 24 things that we just mentioned. Okay? Are there anything else, any other behaviors or sins that if a person does those, he loses his portion in the world to come? There are. Listen carefully because this is phenomenal stuff. Someone that nicknames his friend a not nice term, and he doesn't appreciate it, and you call your friend that name, you have no portion in the world to come. Okay? Someone doesn't like to be called Husky, okay, and you call him Husky. You have no portion in the world to come. Or you make up a name for that. You say, whatever, some name which is derogatory, or it's making fun of them, or whatever it may be. It seems like, what's the big deal? I didn't do anything. I just said something to him. He has no portion in the world to come. Not only that, you didn't make up the name. Other friends made up the name. If you call him by that name that he doesn't appreciate, no portion in the world to come.
Okay, question.
Yes.
Does this apply if you're doing it to somebody who's not Jewish, and also people who are not Jewish doing it to each other because they're included in this?
It says here, your friend. Someone that embarrasses his friend publicly. Humiliating somebody in public, and there's many ways to do it, unfortunately. Someone that does that loses his portion of the world to come.
But this could apply to non-Jews doing it to each other.
That's interesting. Non-Jews to each other. I mean, this is halacha for Jewish people, how to live our lives. It's a very good idea. No one should embarrass anybody, whether you're Jewish or not.
if he humiliates him, then how do you know that it's a friend?
Oh, it's not really a friend, but the term friend is like a fellow, a chaver, a fellow. It's not your friend that you're making fun of him. Yeah, yes.
I'm sure that as a result of the Holocaust and associated events, many people decided, well, it's much safer not to reveal any of one's Jewish identity and to just live a secular life. Are we saying those people have no part in the world to come?
No. We're talking about a situation where, not extreme like what you're talking about, and they feel like they're saving their life, they're going through tremendous trauma.
No, I'm not saying
I know.
to save their life, then I'm saying,
They want to avoid the possibility of the future. So these people went through tremendous, tremendous horrors, and they're not in a regular premeditated state the way we would think. When you have somebody who is part of a community, and then he realizes that it's too risky, they raise the danger alert, what's it called, the Homeland Security alert, they raised it to an orange. You know what, I'm not being Jewish anymore, it's just too scary. That's what we're talking about, and he drops everything. Someone who gets honor or status through the shame of a friend. He wants to be popular. So what does he do? He puts down a bunch of other people. Oh, they're all bad, they're all not worthless, they're not capable. He does something to put down other people, and everyone looks at him and says, oh, he's a great guy. Someone that does that, shaming other people to have glory, it's a category of its own. It's has no portion in the world to come.
How do you get
Someone that
glory?
one second, we're going to go to questions in a second. Someone that embarrasses Talmidei Chachamim, he embarrasses scholars, he embarrasses his teachers, he desecrates the holidays, the Yom Tovim. He says, Yantif, I'm not going to treat it with any type of sanctity. Someone that desecrates holy things, like something of the Beis Hamikdash, something of a shul, he ruins it. All these categories don't have a portion of the world to come. But the Rambam qualifies this, and he says, all of these things that we said is only if a person dies without Tshuvah. If a person does Tshuvah, he gets his portion back in the world to come, which is very important to realize this, because when you go through what we have here, 14 halachas of lists, of multitude of people who have no portion in the world to come, it sounds like they're doomed forever. And the Rambam stresses it's not the case. That if a person did Tshuvah, then he'll have a portion of the world to come. As long as he's alive. As we mentioned in the earlier chapter, a person could be on their deathbed and they know that it's over, and then they wake up and they say, I want to do Tshuvah, it still counts. As long as you're alive, you can do Tshuvah. Even if they're at a state in their life where it's not worth it for them anymore to be wicked. It's not worth it for them anymore to do sin. And now they do Tshuvah, we don't say, now you're doing Tshuvah. Where were you before?
So what about, people that they, make people suffer, make people, be, angry or, whatever.
Hurt.
Put them in jail, whatever it is. So now he's I'm bad Tshuvah, I'm sorry.
Okay, so it's a very
But
important point.
these people, got room. All these people.
Okay, so when a person says, I'm going to hurt somebody and I'll do Tshuvah in 10 years, let me first build my career, then I'll do Tshuvah. So it's echteva osher. A person says, I'm going to sin and then I'll do Tshuvah, we don't accept this Tshuvah. Ultimately we do, but it's very hard to be sincere when you had in mind all along that this was a trick that you're going to do. Secondly, when you hurt someone else, you have to ask for forgiveness from that person. And we say, as long as he does Tshuvah, what does Tshuvah mean? So Tshuvah, that you hurt someone else, that person has to forgive you. If they don't forgive you, then the Tshuvah is not complete. So you ruin someone's life. If you're not going to apologize to them and they could somehow reconcile this, Tshuvah is not, you're stuck. Come to Hashem and Hashem says, I'm happy to forgive you, but you got to figure it out with the other guy. Okay? As the pasuk says, I'm going to conclude with this chapter and we'll take questions. Shuvu banim shevavim, return children, even though he's still wild, so to speak, and misbehaving, because as long as he does Tshuvah, Hashem will accept it, even if a person does Tshuvah in secret. He did a lot of sins publicly, and everyone knows that he's a sinner. And on his own, in private, he did Tshuvah, he gets forgiven, and he gets his portion in the world to come. Tshuvah always gets accepted.
What if somebody wasn't, he's a sinner, and then he dies unexpectedly, suddenly? Boom, car accident, he didn't have a chance to do Tshuvah.
So from the Rambam, it's the way he writes it, very, very clear. Says if he dies without Tshuvah. Which means if he didn't do Tshuvah, it's too late.